Alright, so we're getting up to the front bed here. Birds out. This is December 17th, something like that. And if you just close your eyes and listen, you'd think it was spring. Hey, welcome back, gardening friends. Jules here, talking about planting that vegetable garden in 23. We're over at the shed bed today, and we're running, I guess, 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, I think there's 6. Depends on how you count it. Anyway, we'll start down here. We're going to run down this north trench. Now, typically, we grow okra here. We'll get to okra in a second. The front of this trench, you see the 3 T-posts in there already. This will be our heirloom tomatoes this year. Gonna have a Cherokee purple for sure, no doubt about it. If I can get my hands on Mexico tomato, something we discovered last year at a North Carolina nursery. Not Amish, is it Amish or Mennonite? I think they are Amish. Anyway, found a Mexico tomato there, and also a pineapple tomato. I really like it. Chef Beth does not care for that tomato, but I think I'm going to sneak one in here. And you'll see down in the soil here, we've began to add directly just some crushed eggs. Of course, they'll take forever to add calcium, but some litter. We're adding litter and chicken manure to the soil, getting it prepped out. And my technique, I like to add spot treat as a plant. I don't till up and cultivate everything. I just kind of dig into what I got, and I'll put manure in the hole, maybe some 10-10-10, and drop my plant in. And for tomatoes, I add my Espoma tomato top at the start, and then 2 weeks later, and then 2 weeks later, and maybe one more round. Some dogs going at it over there. Maybe one more round, and then cut it off. Also has some creeping rosemary in here. I don't know if you can see it on that camera, but that's a good thing to add as well. So for companion planting, I'll drop some onion in there most likely. Marigold for sure. Marigold's going in there. Probably drop in some basil seeds, and if they come up, they come up. If they don't, they don't. Lord knows I'm going to afford it. I've got more seeds than I know what to do with, really. But anyway, this trench, we call it the North Trench. This bed is on the east. It's really southeast in the yard, but that's the North Trench. These tomatoes, for those new to the channel, I grow heirloom tomatoes as tall as I can get them, 10, 11, 12 foot tall. So these stakes here, I'll take another garden stake. Hold on a second, I'll show you. I'm back. Okay, so standard tomato stake, 4 foot tall. So what you do, slap it in that gap like that. All right, if you cut a foot off of this, you're looking at 7. Then you go half a foot. Then you're going to tape it down here. So when your tomato gets up, you just keep on going. About the time it gets up there is about the time you want to top it. Unless you're going for green tomatoes, but as you're getting towards the end of the season, they're going to cease production, assuming they didn't cease up in a hot summer in the first place. But once you get up there, you can top it out. So you got yourself a nice 9-footer basically. And top that thing out. Focus all the energy on some select fruit if you're going for one that's finished. If you want a bunch of green tomatoes, you just let it be, and right there before that first frost, you go ahead and grab you some green tomatoes. Alright, yeah, switched up my stake to this. This is easier to handle. So in the back then, that's where the okra will be restricted. I'll talk about okra before I talk about why I'm planting it back there. We started using Clemson spineless, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. Highly recommended. I've started it even in an egg carton just to see if I could do it. But in this north trench, I've had them 10, 11, 12 foot tall. Easy. Grew 16 one year in this area just to see if I could do it. And it did work. But obviously that's way too much for a family, small family. So I think we ran 8 last year. And that's still a little much. So this year, if you look back in the corner back there, this year we're just going to run 3, maybe 4. I'm a little OCD. I like to have things in some kind of order or just wide open crazy. Wide open crazy is order, if you know what I mean. But if things are orderly, I don't like to have something that's out of kilter. And if you look in that square there, you'll see a stump. That's actually a crabapple tree. I believe I accidentally killed it. Had to till all this land up for the backside. A few years back, I believe I killed that crab tree. Used to grow a grapevine up that crab tree. And I've grown, what did I grow? Italian triple L. I'll put a link up there if you want to see that. Just so you don't have to watch the whole thing, but I've got a view up in the tree looking down. I was trying to get that thing up 20, 25 foot. I think I made it to 17, something like that. Anyway, with that stump there, probably just going to go with 3 because of my OCD. And really, I think 3's enough. If you haven't grown okra, once they come in, they just keep coming every day. Really, you can harvest it morning and evening. They grow that fast. When it's super hot, they love the heat. They love the heat. Yeah, but they get tall. Clemson spineless do. So that's why it's back. It's on the north, and it will not shade this front bed up here, which I'll talk about in a second. So basically, the north trench, we're putting tall tomatoes and tall okra. You want to keep your tall stuff on the north or the east, or possibly the west, but definitely not the south. Definitely not the south. So this trench line will be tomato, 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 and then 3 okra. Now if you look way back there in that picture up against the fence, you'll see what looks like a head of a bed. I forget headboard. It's not. It's part of my pergola. It was a kit, and I didn't use all the parts. I mean, the pergola stable I'm just talking about. I didn't put the horizontal parts in. But it's cedar, and I'm not going to not use that. That's a nice piece of wood there, and it's already, structured. So that bed rail looking thing, I've got it setting up. It's about 3 foot off the ground at the bottom of the rail, and you see those Lowe's 5-gallon buckets there. I'm going to put just a couple of Blue Lake pole beans in there. That's not the only place we're growing pole beans. We've got an entire stand over there in the north bed, which is in part 1 of the series. But I figure I got the space. I've got the trellis, and then I put the headboard on the fence itself. So that area, we have grown beans back there before, so we know it works. So that area, that's east, does not get any morning sun whatsoever, but it should catch midday and west sun and shoot it back in there. The plan is to get those beans up enough and going before the okra skyrockets, because the okra, once it gets hot, it's going to just explode. But the beans, by the time it gets that hot, the beans should already be up. So, we'll have the beans up taller than the okra, and then down to the tomatoes, and then by the end of the season, they'll all be up there, 7, 9 foot, maybe 10 for the okra. But again, for that one, it's just, why not use the space? I got the buckets, I got the trellis, and I've got the beans. Again, just like with the basil, I've got more beans than I can use, so if I got a space, I might as well throw them in there. All right, so now we're going to go over this way to the south, And I want to say something about that before I get too into this. The further you go that way, the less sun you're going to have for this bed and this big old tree right there, and then the house itself is here. So you could expect that this side, the plants are going to be shorter in general compared to this side. So I'll have a variety of plants. I just want to make sure I don't stick one particular species all in the shade. They got to have some in the sun and some in the shade. Just a little tip there. But anyway, on the back, you see those 3 T-posts, and I've put some wire across it already. That's going to be our main cucumber stand this year. And that's southeast, same thing. It will get next to no morning sun. But once the day picks up, the sun will start splashing in there, and then roughly, it depends on which month, but roughly in the afternoon it's going to get shaded because of a big elm tree over here. And then the sun will come back out of that and hit it again. So we'll actually get some shade during the hot summer days, which is a good thing, but then pick up the rest of its sunlight as the sun's going down right there. So that, again, is going to be tall because the type of cucumber I'm growing. So I've put it on the back side, the east side, so as not to shadow this bed here. So you can see that strategy of north and east to keep this bed from getting blocked by taller plants. Now, what am I going to plant over there? Well, doing a, what do they call that thing? Carolina hybrid F1 cuke, and it needs companion plants. It's one of those cucumbers that needs a second plant to pollinate it, right? So it doesn't have males. So what I will do is on each post there, I'll start a hill, 3, and then once they come up, I will thin them down to 1 per hill, right? So I have a hill with 3 seeds in it. If only 1 comes up, I'm good to go. If 2 comes up, I'll keep the healthiest, pull the other. If all 3 come up, same thing, I'll keep the healthiest and pull the others. One, if you just put 1 seed in, that's a heavy gamble. 2 you could get by with, but 3 is probably the safest way to go. After that, you're not really gaining a whole lot. If you're putting 3 seeds in, and if you can't get 33% germination rate, 1 out of 3, then you need to get some different seeds anyway. Anyway, I put 3 in the hill, pull them, leave me 1. So each post will have a Carolina hybrid, okay? It will get up. Then I will use Space Master. It's a bush cucumber. It's a Space Master, and put that down on the ground. Now some of them will come up too, like vertical, but for the most part they're more like a ground cover cucumber. So that will be used so I can get some pollination on the Carolina hybrids, and then I'll end up with 6 to 8 cucumber plants back there. Definitely doing 3 on the bush, but I might add a couple of more, just depends on the spacing. And on the end down there, I thought about putting an eggplant. Again, I've got a little bit of space, but that is east and south, so that corner there will get the least amount of sun, and I don't think an eggplant's going to care for that. So probably just sneak some lettuce or something in there in the cool season in the spring, and then do nothing with it when we get to the warm season. All right, so we're getting up to the front bed here. Birds out. This is December 17th, something like that. And if you just close your eyes and listen, you'd think it was spring. Got some chippity-chirp birds out there. Anyway, now to the bed, the biggest bed. This is why I was saying earlier, it depends on how you count it. I plant inside the walls. For those that haven't watched my channel, I do plant inside the walls. So I will have 4 hot pepper plants in this wall, even though you see 1, 2, 3, 4 right there. So that's 8. But I'll plant the peppers on the ends, and then on the inside I'll put marigold and nasturium, borage, whatever, some kind of flowers in there. right? So I'll have 4 hot peppers here. Now this I don't have to worry about. I know it's going to get the sun it needs, okay? But I'm not going to fill it up with the same thing. So for example, I will have a Tabasco pepper, a habanero, a cayenne, and probably a jalapeno, okay? And then I will repeat it on the other side. That wall will do the same thing, except that's the side that gets the least amount of sun, right? So I don't want to jam 2 of any of these. I don't want to put 2, say, Tabasco peppers over there in the shade, because I'll have a weak yield overall, right? So I'll put 1 Tabasco here and 1 over there, okay? So then what goes in the middle? Well, it depends on the season. In the cool season, we get out there in April, the front of this will have your typical cool season lettuce and root crop, right? And the back, I'll just leave it alone. Probably, plans change, but they'll do fine right here, and that should be enough. And then it will be pulled. So between the back of this bed and the front on the ground, that's where our sweet peppers are going to go. And we're growing Cubanelle. Beth likes the bells. I like to grow things you can't typically find in a store, but she likes the bells. Fresh is best, so we'll have bells in there. We'll have Cubanelle in there. Pimento. We'll have pimento in there. So those 3 for sure will be in our sweet pepper mixture. So basically what we're doing, keeping the tall stuff on the north and the east, not putting a lot of pressure on the soil because we have multiple beds. But if this is all you got, this is less than 100 square foot, right? There's a lot more you could do with this space. I mean, you don't have to use all this only for heirloom tomatoes. You could turn it into a salsa garden if you want it. Just grow everything you need to make a salsa. Succession planting over here, you could really max that space out, doing cool season, warm season, cool season again. Same thing on the cucumbers. You don't have to grow cucumbers up. You can get bush cucumbers. You could turn that into a full bean section. Heck, on the north side here, you could grow corn if you wanted. Just all kinds of things you could do. But 100 square foot, especially if you're succession planting, you should be able to get a lot of product out of that. Excuse me. Generally, you can get 1 to 1.5 pounds, but per square foot. But that's not really the objective. I'll tell you, we grow a lot of herbs, and per ounce, that's the biggest savings you have is growing herbs. You're not getting pounds and pounds of herbs unless you're growing for market, but it's not all about the pounds. It's the amount of the food that you can consume. I mean, this right here, you can run your brassicas and your lettuce. This is about 80 square foot. You can run all of that stuff right here twice a year and never buy any of it from a grocery store. But for this year, planting this bed, we're just running peppers, heirloom tomatoes, okra, cucumbers, and then some beans in the back, just because. Well, please subscribe if you're new and drop comments down there, like and share and all that good stuff. The first part of this series is up here somewhere. You can click on that if you want to watch that planting. And we'll have at least 1 more of these. Appreciate you watching, and we'll see you on the next one. 3, 2, 1. Peace, y'all.